Welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about SMART goals. Goal setting in general is a really important process if we want to make achievement, if we want to grow, especially if we want to be intentional and directed about our goals. And I don't actually know who came up with the idea of the SMART acronym, but it's generally well recognized as being helpful for us achieving the goals that we really want to make important to ourselves. And so it's an acronym that I think is familiar to a lot of people, maybe not to everybody, and I still think even if you've heard of it before, that there's some worth in refreshing your memory on it, reminding yourselves of what kind of power and assistance you can get from the acronym. So when you are setting goals, it's suggested that as much as possible you have these 5 criteria in mind. And I don't believe that you need to have all 5. I think if you have all 5, that's better. But having more of them, any of them, is better than just having vague goals. So the very first part of the acronym, the S, is specific. So instead of having, I generally want to be better in my relationships, be specific, right? I want to have more contact with people. I want to be the initiator of more contact in my social group. That's something that's specific. The M is measurable. And when we can, that helps with the specificity of it, when we can think of what does it actually look like for me to do this, that's a part of, I think, it being measurable. But it's also helpful for us to see the progress that we're making. So if you said something like, I want to be in contact with a friend, a different friend, 4 days out of the week. Okay, so then that starts to give you something that you can actually quantify. And you can also start to check and see, for one thing, how many times a week are you doing that right now? And secondly, how is that changing? If you get to 4, you want to go to 5, so you can see actual growth, right? So you can actually do something that is measurable. The A stands for attainable. So this really kind of points to the idea of being realistic about your goals. There are some things that, at least at this moment in time, are not realistic to us, some things that are never going to be realistic to us. There are human limitations and personal limitations about each individual, but at least something that is attainable for you at this point in time. So using the example that I've been talking about, you could say, as we've talked about here, that I want to reach out at least 4 times a week to different friends. That seems, for most people, that would seem to be an attainable thing. The R stands for that it is relevant. So relevant is, does it fit to your life? Whether it's a career goal, if you're thinking of it as a career goal, is it actually relevant to your career or to a career that you want to have realistically at some point in the future? Is the goal that we've been talking about here, is that relevant to you? Is it something that matters to you? If you already have a lively social life, it's pretty full up, you feel very good about it, it seems to really be doing well for you and for your friends, then that wouldn't seem to be a relevant goal. It wouldn't seem to be something that's worth your time. And the last part of the acronym is the T. And so that is usually talked about as time bound or time contained. And that again helps with the specificity. So something like, by the end of this month, I want to have kind of the habit of reaching out 4 times a week to a different friend. Again, that helps us to have a target that we can see and we can do something with, instead of, I eventually want to. Well, what does eventually mean? When we are too vague in our goal setting, we are not usually going to be motivated to do what is required of us, especially when what's required is difficult. So as you're looking over the next little while and the things that you want to see change, grow, become better in your own life, think, how can I apply one or more of these characteristics, ideally again all 5 of them, to the goals that you've got in mind for yourself?